Are you ready?
Let's go.
From AMI Central.
Now circling in the neutral zone.
Here's the pitch on the way. 36 yards for the win.
This.
Here comes a big chance. The shot.
Is
this the dagger?
The neutral zone.
Home run.
This is as good as it gets.
Now, here's your host, two-time Paralympian, Brock Richardson.
What's going on? It's time for another week, another edition of the Neutral Zone. I am indeed your host, Brock Richardson, and a couple of panelist shout-outs first. First of all, one Cam Jenkins has no voice, so he'll not be joining us, and one Claire Buchanan is having some family stuff going on at the moment, so she'll not be joining us, but we send her our best, and she'll be back with us in the coming weeks. And but who is with me right at the moment is one Josh Watson. Josh, how are you?
I am all right, Brock. It is one of those Mondays where I wish I had a weekend from my weekend, but that's okay. I will grin and bear it because I get to be here, I get to join you on the Neutral Zone, and we get to talk about all kinds of wonderful sports, including one of my favorite events of the year, the Super Bowl.
Yes, we're going to have some fun with the Super Bowl for sure, and what we can expect. I've got some pretty cool prop bets that are lined up for us to chat about. We're going to hear about that in the later half of the program. Producer Jeff Ryman will be joining us, and also we're going to be joined by Simone Richard, who is the coordinator for New Brunswick Parasports. He'll be coming along in mere moments from now, and I just want to shout out, you talk about wanting a weekend from your weekend. Well, I would like a day from my busy day, because as often said on this program, Monday, as we record this, is my busiest day as it is, when I have two other obligations beyond this program, and sometimes, like today, I had a third obligation, and I was on Kelly and Ramya, which you can catch on AMI-télé at 10 p.m. Eastern Time every evening, plus then they're live from 2 to 4 every day. So I've been on there for the last little while, and today was another add-on day, and so we are at the home stretch of my busy day, but it's always fun to be a part of different programs. But I love coming back and talking sports with my panelists, and in this case, it is Josh this week. So looking forward to a great show.
I did have a chance briefly while I was at work today to tune in to Kelly and Ramya. You guys looked like you were having a great time and talking some chat GPT and some other topics, so that was pretty cool. And you definitely do take the cake for cramming as much as possible into a day. My excuse is that I played 4 hockey games over the weekend, so I'm not probably nearly as busy as you've been today. So
Did you notice I catch myself on the slip up, because I almost said 10 p.m. Eastern today, you can catch the repeat, but the podcast isn't out till Tuesday, so you can catch them live 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern every weekday, as I tried to fumble my way through that as I just came off of doing something live, and now it's pre-recorded. But nonetheless, we have good content coming your way, starting with our headlines.
Neutral Zone headlines.
Well, Brock, we're going to start today under the category of everything old is new again, as we let you know that Tom Brady, quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, has announced his retirement from the NFL for the second time in 2 years. Ed Donahue has more.
If this sounds familiar, Brady announced at the end of last season he was retiring.
Won't be long-winded. You only get one super emotional retirement essay, and I used mine up last year.
The 45-year-old has won 7 Super Bowls over a 23-year career.
Really thank you guys so much, to every single one of you, for supporting me. My family, my friends, my teammates, my competitors.
Brady and model Gisele Bündchen finalized their divorce this past fall. He was picked 199th in the 2000 draft by the New England Patriots, behind 6 other quarterbacks, 3 kickers, and a punter.
Thank you guys for allowing me to live my absolute dream. I wouldn't change a thing.
Tom Brady has signed a deal with Fox as a TV analyst once he retires. I'm Ed Donahue.
Yes, as Ed just mentioned, we are not done with Tom Brady. He will still be around. He is going to be joining Fox as an analyst from the looks of things. So we will get to hear that voice again going forward. Congratulations, Tom, on a wonderful career. As a Dolphins fan, and I'm sure, Brock, you agree, as a Bills fan, we can say good riddance.
Yes, I agree. But just to add a little bit more, Tom Brady made $333 million over his career and will make an additional $375 million over the next 10 years with Fox. Needless to say, Tom Brady ain't gonna starve. He will be fine. Don't worry about Tom Brady. Congratulations to Newfoundland Parasports, as they will receive the Canadian Tire Jump Start. This funding will go towards buying new equipment for the organization. We're going to talk a little bit in a while about grassroots sports, and I think this is sort of the precursor to the importance of grassroots sports and what that can be used for as a jumping point for your own career. If we don't have grassroots sports, we don't have much.
That is very true. After much speculation, I think it's safe to say that Soccer Canada has made a very wise decision to stick with head coach John Herdman for their men's national soccer team. There was talk that Herdman could potentially move on to coach Team Wales. However, Soccer Canada has officially decided to remain with their head coach. Given the success that Herdman had with the women's team and the length of time it took to bring that program into respectability, I think it's only natural that we can expect that the men's program, which is already making great strides, will continue to improve under Herdman. And we can't expect that it's going to take just one cycle in order to do so. The program has a long way that they have come, and there's still a long way to go. So I, for one, am glad to see that John Herdman will continue to coach our men's national team.
Team Nunavut took home the gold after defeating Alaska 4-1 in the Arctic Winter Games. With this win, the male hockey team wins the first championship in the territory's history. And I have to tell you, I am not a fan of the cold weather. And the fact that it is called the Arctic Winter Games means that these athletes are much stronger athletes than I would ever dream to be. Congratulations, because if there was an event titled the Arctic Winter Games in my career, it would be a hard pass.
Not only that, Brock, if you noticed, there was the world record holder in an event called the Knuckle Hop, which our friend Devin Haru was reporting on earlier this week. That is quite an event in itself, where you basically move around a circle on your knuckles and on your toes for as long as you can possibly stay up. That's an event that you wouldn't catch me even attempting. So they are definitely a hardy lot.
Given that I sit on my keister most of the day, I don't think my knuckles and toes will do much good for me whatsoever. Those are your headlines for this week. Let's check in on our Twitter poll, as we often do at this point in the program. All right, let's go back to last week. Are you happy with this year's Super Bowl matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs? 90% of you said yes, and 10% of you said no. Who will win this year's Super Bowl is this week's question, and your options are simple: Philadelphia Eagles or Kansas City Chiefs. You may cast your votes at our Twitter handle, coming at you right now.
And welcome back to the Neutral Zone AMI broadcast booth. And we are set to get this ball game underway. The first pitch brought to you by Brock Richardson's Twitter account at NeutralZoneBR. First pitch, strike. And hey, gang, why not strike up a Twitter chat with Claire Buchanan for the Neutral Zone? Find her at Neutral Zone CB. And there's a swing and a chopper out to second base, right at Claire. She picks up the ball, throws it over to first base for a routine out. And fans, there is nothing routine about connecting with Cam and Josh from the Neutral Zone. At Neutral Zone Cam J and at J Watson 200. Now that's a winning combination. And this Oregon interlude is brought to you by AMI Audio on Twitter. Get in touch with the Neutral Zone. Type in at AMI Audio.
This week, we are pleased to be joined by Simone Richard, who is the program coordinator for New Brunswick Parasports. He is here today to tell us about the organization and what they have to offer. He is also a Paralympic athlete, and we will get to that later in the interview as well. Simone, nice to chat with you. We often do email exchanges. I bug you for athletes from New Brunswick, and you've always told me, listen, I want to come on your podcast. And so a pleasure to have you here, and it's nice to put a face to the name, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for having me on, Brock and Josh. It's a pleasure to be here, and looking forward to spending a little time with you guys.
Well, we're very glad to have you. And can we just start by talking a little bit about how you got involved with New Brunswick Parasports?
Well, my journey in the parasport world, if you want, began when I was like 9 years old. So basically, I've been visually impaired my whole life with a condition called aniridia, and at a young age, I started playing sports just like any other kid. Played hockey, soccer, go ball. Started playing go ball at the age of 9, which is the first experience in the parasport world, if you want, that I had. Kind of went up from there in that sport. Went up all the way up to the national team in that sport, and finally switched to blind hockey. And after that, I had a great opportunity to join a great organization in New Brunswick. Parasport New Brunswick. As a program coordinator, I'm program manager with that organization. So my job really revolves around making sure all the programs are running well, making sure all the gyms are booked, participants are having a good time, and that we can deliver as many programs as we can across the province for everybody. So that's kind of the way that I got involved in the parasport world, and especially with Parasport New Brunswick, if you want.
Can you tell us what sports the organization offers?
So Parasport New Brunswick, we have a mandate of governing currently 3 sports. So right now our 3 sports are wheelchair basketball, wheelchair rugby, and bocce. Those are the 3 sports that we govern personally as an organization. Now, we also have a mandate in the province of New Brunswick to help develop all the other Paralympic sports around the province. So, in the Paralympic Games, there's the summer sports and the winter sports. In total, I believe there's 26 sports in the 2 games, if you want, the summer and the winter total. So as an organization, we have a mandate to grow all of those in partnerships with all the other provincial sport organizations. So for instance, athletics, New Brunswick have their own para side of it. Swimming have their own para swimming side of it. And as an organization, Parasport New Brunswick, we have the mandate of helping those provincial sport organizations to grow their side of the para side of their organization. Whether it's programming, coaching, finding the athletes, making sure that the programs are accessible, they have the equipment needed, or what all the resources that they need to grow their programs on the para side. So that's kind of the sports that we govern, if you want, or the way that it's organized in New Brunswick.
Now, you've had some recent events and some more that are coming up. I was wondering if you could highlight some of those for us.
So we just finished a little bit of a run here where we had a lot of programs that were going on. We're still in our full blown season of programming right now with all of our wheelchair basketball, wheelchair rugby, go ball programs. We also have some 3-on-3 tournaments that we did throughout the fall. This past weekend we just had a little bit of a tournament for wheelchair rugby that included some athletes from New Brunswick as well as PI in Quebec. The big event that's coming up that we're really excited though is the Wheelchair Rugby Nationals that we're hosting this May 5th to 7th at the Moncton Coliseum in Moncton, New Brunswick. So we're really excited about that. That's going to be a really good opportunity for not only Team New Brunswick to play, but also it's the first Wheelchair Rugby Nationals that we host ever in New Brunswick. So it's a really historic event for us to host and be behind. And we're, super excited and honored to host this event and making sure that we can provide some wheelchair rugby competitions for participants from coast to coast to coast. And we're looking forward to welcoming everybody in Moncton in a couple months' time here.
Those are always good events to host national championships. You see everything from the high-level athletes to, the athletes who have reached their potential at national championships. National championships in parasport and in all sports are really great events. So best of luck with that. And we will certainly have some of your athletes and or you back on again in May or close to May to preview that event a little bit more in detail. But we appreciate you sharing that with us now. We're joined by Simone Richard, who is the program manager for Parasports in New Brunswick. You're listening to The Neutral Zone. I'm Brock Richardson alongside Josh Watson. Let's move forward to a question we're going to have in a few minutes, and we're going to delve in deeper on this one. But why do you think it is so important to have grassroots organizations such as yours in the community?
Well, that's a really good question, Brock. For me, I think it really comes down to a few things, a few buckets that we call it. The first bucket is inclusion. We always think of parasports or parasport programming, and we think the first thing that I think of is equipment, right? The equipment, the program needs to be accessible for everybody to come in and participate. So the equipment needs to be adapted, not only for the sport particularly, but also for the athletes individually as well. So everybody needs to have, for instance, if they want to play wheelchair basketball, they need to have a chair that fits them really well, and a chair that makes sure that they can have a safe and inclusive environment for making sure that equipment is adapted for them. So for instance, if they need some type of equipment like a chair, it really needs to be adapted for that person so it fits well for them. The next thing after that is making sure that we have safe environment so that everybody can come in and play for the first time or even years down the road, right? So those are kind of the two buckets that I always look at: inclusion and safe environment to look at. The next things for programs, I would say, programs, like you said a little bit earlier, for nationals and things like that, but also like at a local level, you have athletes that are just starting out. So it's maybe their first time on the court. And then you have people that are playing for years and years and having all types of experience, whether it's on a recreational side, all the way up to maybe a national team level, right? So sometimes you have to be really adaptive with the programming side of it. So making sure that the practices are making sure that you can include everybody in the sense that everybody feels comfortable coming out and it's at the level that they can actually follow for the competitive athletes as well as the recreational athletes. And we all have, our rec programs and competitive programs, but some local municipalities might have everybody all in one program. So that's another big step. The other cool thing about parasports, and this is where I think the important side of it comes in, is everybody feels like it's a community. It's a spot that you can go and play sports, be active, be healthy, meet new friends and meet new people that might be going through the same challenges as you are currently, or maybe down the road you might be going through as a person with a disability. Another cool thing about it too is not only you're having all those people that are around you that can support you, but you can also bring in your friends and family to play with you. It's an inclusive environment in that sense too. A lot of sports you can play up until the national level, even if you're able-bodied, right? And that's a really cool factor of it too, that you can play with your family and friends, and really wrap a bow with that if you want, right? So there's a lot of really good benefits to it. As we all know, playing sports is a big part of being active, being healthy, and whether you have a disability or not, it's a big way of being active and being just healthy in the grand scheme of things, right? And then from there, if you want to just play for fun, play for fun. If you want to go and compete, there's always a pathway for that as well, right? So lots of great opportunities for that.
Now, if people want to get involved specifically with Parasport New Brunswick, how would they be able to do that?
Yeah, so we have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter that we're active on. So follow us at Parasport NB on those platforms.
Now, you've also had the opportunity to represent Canada at the Paralympic Games. I wonder if you can talk to us a little bit about that on your own personal level.
Yeah, for sure. So, as a kid that had a disability from a young age, or from birth, actually, for me, I always had a dream of, competing in sports, whether it was in able-bodied sports or even in the Paralympic Games when I started playing goalball. And that was, for me to reach that level, was something that was super special for me and my family and friends. I had a lot of family and friends that were there, like my parents and brother was there, and I had quite a few friends in other sports that were there to come and check it out as well. So it was kind of cool to get to that environment. It's always an honor to wear the maple leaf on your chest and represent your country internationally. I feel fortunate and lucky to have been able to have those experience for sure. For us personally, I wish we would have had a little more success on the court. I feel like we had a really good team, and we lost in the quarterfinals in double overtime versus Lithuania in 2016 at the Paralympic Games. And yeah, I think, if we would have won that game, who knows what happens from there. Lithuania went on to win gold medals. I think we would have been a force to be reckoned with if we went through that game. So, I think it was a really good experience, just an incredible experience to be at that level. Even talking about it right now, I'm still having chills thinking about what it felt like to get ready before a game or play at that level in front of 14, 15,000 fans in Brazil. So it was quite an experience, and it's memories that I'm going to cherish for the rest of my life. And hopefully I can kind of encourage and inspire other athletes to reach that level as well.
Yeah, it's funny when nobody's better in the position of program manager of a parasports organization, and in this case we're talking about New Brunswick, but nobody's better than somebody who has been there, done that, and pardon the expression, but got the t-shirt. I think it's something that's easily relatable, you can easily relate to, it's all good. So really, really appreciate the fact that you've taken on a role as this one. But that's not where your athletic career has stopped. You also now represent Canada on the Canadian blind hockey team. Can you talk a little bit about that, if you would?
Yeah, so I after going through the Paralympic cycle of goalball in 2016, where I went in Rio de Janeiro in 2016, in 2018 I had an opportunity to switch sports completely, and as I mentioned before, I grew up playing sighted hockey and short-sighted soccer and all those sports, just with very able-bodied kids. And I always wanted to play hockey with a visually impaired group. I always had that in the back of my mind while I was growing up. And in the 2000s, it was going on in the major cities in Canada, but I didn't even know it was going on. And when I had the chance to start playing in 2015, and then afterwards in 2018, when I had a chance to, move to that sport and be a part of a national team, that was really a dream come true in that sense too. And, for me, it's, again, wearing the Maple Leaf is always an honor. I feel like our national team group, since 2018, the last 5 years has grown a lot. We grew not only as athletes, but also like off the ice, being ambassadors in our own communities, and growing the sport internationally. And I think, a testament to that, even in last year, was Amanda Proven being the first woman to be a part of a national team with us. And, I think we're just ambassadors in the game of capital H hockey in that sense, not only for blind, visually impaired athletes, but I think just grow the game of hockey in Canada. And if we can keep going down that road, with the last few events that we had with the national team and the coming up, the ones that are coming up, that's what we're going to try to do. So super excited about the opportunities that we've had so far in the last 5 years, and especially excited about the ones that are coming up here. So it's always an honor to play for Canada, and looking forward to the next events that we can do.
Yeah, I really appreciate having you on and really delving into your vast, parasports career, and we really, really appreciate it. And we hope to have you on again down the line. Simone, we really appreciate your time today.
Perfect. Thank you very much, guys.
That was Simone Richard, who is the program manager at New Brunswick Parasports. And if you like what you have heard, here's how you can get a hold of us by voicemail.
If you want to leave a message for the Neutral Zone, call now 1-866-509-4545. And don't forget to give us permission to use your message on the air. Let's get ready to leave a voicemail.
One of my favorite things to do, apart from the obvious of this podcast, but is to lean on some of our friends in other parts of AMI. And I have been called upon, as I mentioned earlier, to do some Kelly and Ramya shows last week, and so far one day this week, possibly a second today as you listen to. But I figured since Jeff Ryman needed me a little bit, I figured, well, let's return the favor. I need Jeff Ryman. And so senior producer as of right now for Kelly and Ramya, but regularly visual producer for Kelly and Ramya is Jeff Ryman. Hello, Jeff. How are you?
Hey, Brock. Hey, Josh. It's been a while, but it's good to be back.
Yes. So before we move on to the actual sports stuff, Kelly and Ramya has been on for a little bit now. How are things over there, rolling along on AMI TV?
It's going great. I mean, this marks around the 1 month mark since we first went to TV. All has been good. Things are looking great. It's a different beast to produce from a senior producer's standpoint, but we are liking the content because really what we wanted to do all along was take what we had on AMI audio and put it on TV and sort of jazz it up with a little bit of visual and graphic elements. And that's exactly what we've done. So I'm sure we can improve on certain things down the line. But Brock and Josh, 1 month in, I would give it 2 thumbs up.
That's good. One of the things as I was laughing as we started this program is there's directors over on Kelly and Ramya who direct you when you're on screen, and one of the words they use is reaction, which tells you you're on camera and you need to look at the camera, which is not something I get doing this podcast. So I have to, remind myself, oh yes, look at the camera. So you learn and you do things, but I'm glad things are off and running, and I've had a few kicks at the cat and enjoyed that. Kelly and Rummy at 2 p.m. Eastern on AMI-TV, Monday to Friday, the best of every weekend. So let's talk about something that came out of the Simone Richard interview, and that was the importance of grassroots sports. Josh, you were a part of the interview. Let's get your thoughts first.
I really enjoyed speaking with Simone. We've had him on in the past as well, and he's always a very interesting person to talk to, and so I really appreciated the insights he brought. From my own perspective, I think grassroots sport is absolutely critical. It's how you develop athletes and it's how you feed into your national programs. If we don't have grassroots organizations like Parasport New Brunswick, where are we going to find athletes? It's going to be a lot harder, and those athletes may or may not even become aware of what avenues are open to them. So I don't think we can underestimate the importance of it.
Jeff?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. As somebody who started in sports from a very young age, I feel like I can appreciate it on multiple levels. Some of the sports I played, soccer, hockey, was into swimming for a little bit. And I feel like, sure, it's great to dive into, pun intended, to dive into the fun and the camaraderie you build with some teammates or coaches and stuff. And I feel like you can stem off of that and you can learn some really good life lessons. Like when you're on a team, you just learn certain things that are going to help you down the road later in life. And from the grassroots level, when I first started playing sports, around 4 or 5 years old, you don't realize it at the time, obviously, but looking back, there are certain lessons that just stick with you throughout life. And it is something that is so key. And from the sports side of things, for me personally, and this stems from the grassroots stuff, I'm still playing hockey to this day. And it's really good for my mental health. I mean, that is sort of my getaway, is sports. If I'm having a bad day and the second you step on the ice or the court or in the pool or wherever it is, it's sort of like your safe haven. And we wouldn't have that if we weren't able to experience certain things at the grassroots level. So, I think it's super important to have that at the grassroots level.
For me, I really believe that the grassroots level is the part where you can really have fun. You can really enjoy what you're doing. You can step on that ice and have it be, as Jeff pointed out, your getaway, your point of fun for the week and all of that. And for me, I think that's what I remember. I remember when I first started, it was nothing but fun. There was no care in the world. There was nothing. There was no pressure. It was just fun. I got to go, play bocce at the time and do that. And I'm not saying that as my career progressed, it wasn't fun, but it came with other stipulations, if you will. It came with other pressures. Whereas I think in the grassroots level, it's you learn about yourself, you learn about the sport, you learn how much enjoyment this is, and you start to learn where it can take you, where it could take you. And those are the things that for me, I really value. And at the beginning of my career, when it was grassroots, those are the times that I really cherish overall. And it's a great conversation, and there's definitely some sound bites we got from Simone that are valuable. And if you didn't check it out, you should go back and listen to the interview. It was really great. Something that is also really great at this time of year is the Super Bowl. And this year's matchup is between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. What does one Josh Watson say about this matchup?
I think it's going to be an amazing matchup. you've got Philadelphia that almost went undefeated this season. And then you've got Kansas City, who just seems to be a perennial team in the game. Like, considering how long Patrick Mahomes has actually been in the league, to have the kind of success he has had is really remarkable. And this year, he pretty much did it on one leg, based on the reports we've gotten about his high ankle sprain. So it's going to be very, very interesting. I'm kind of jokingly referring to it, as the Kelsey Bowl, because of course we have Travis Kelce, the tight end for Kansas City, on the one side, and we have Jason Kelce, his brother, who I believe is a defensive end or a defensive lineman. I'm going to have to double check that, on the Philadelphia side. So one way or the other, that Super Bowl trophy is coming into the Kelce house at some point. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens.
Jeff?
Yeah, I think there are a bunch of different storylines that one can follow. The one word that sticks out to me is historic. This is the first time, guys, in the history of the NFL that 2 black quarterbacks are starting in the Super Bowl. Just monumental. And these guys are MVP quality quarterbacks as well. Jalen Hurts had a superb season, and like Josh already mentioned, Patrick Mahomes is pretty much already solidified himself in the Hall of Fame. At a very young age, 28 years old, and he's won a Super Bowl before, won an MVP. His resume is endless. So, I mean, that from one standpoint, it's going to be historic, and also very intriguing. There are, again, a ton of storylines. the Kelsey Bowl, that one's kind of fun to watch. First time, again, historic, that 2 brothers are facing off against each other in the biggest game of the season. Really cool. I don't know what their parents are going to do. Maybe the dad roots for one and mom roots for the other, or maybe they have one of those split jerseys that are split right down the middle. And
there it is.
So I'm looking forward to that. And both of them are like top players as well. I mean, Jason Kelce is one of the best centers in the entire league, and Travis Kelce is arguably the best tight end to ever suit up in the NFL. Pretty good bloodlines there. And so I'm super intrigued by that. And also, not to mention, Jason Kelce, his wife is 38 weeks pregnant, and one of the guests that they're bringing along to come to the Super Bowl is their OBGYN. Like, they're basically saying we are prepared to give birth to our next our next child, potentially at the Super Bowl.
In Arizona.
I don't know. The storylines are endless. I'm really amped to see this, and obviously the teams are phenomenal. Both had the exact same records on the year. So, Brock, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record. The storylines are endless.
I want the storyline of baby born at a Super Bowl.
Me too.
Okay. Like, this is like, just as a marquee, like, just, hey, baby born at a Super Bowl, regardless of result, that's fine by me. This is, to me, the matchup that the NFL, looking at the playoff matchups and how things broke down, this is the one that the NFL really wanted to get. You both just eloquently, said the storylines and what's going on there. I don't think Patrick Mahomes is 100%. In fact, I'm going to double down and say he's not 100%. I don't care that there's a week in between. To me, this is where Philadelphia needs to kind of test him right away. He proved it in the AFC Championship game. Go ahead, test me. But do it again in the Super Bowl, because that's where you're going to know what you're up against in the quarterback as far as Patrick Mahomes is concerned. Before we get into the crazy bets, what do you think the end result's going to be of this Super Bowl, Josh?
Given the success that he's had, and given the connection he does have with Travis Kelce, I think it's got to be Kansas City, but I think it could be a close game. And whether that's close low scoring or close high scoring, I really see a close game when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what you hope for in a Super Bowl. You don't like to see a blowout because then you lose interest, and you don't want to see a low-scoring game because, again, you'll lose interest. I think it's going to be close. I really do. As of right now, and I know, Brock, you're getting into the betting side of things more so along the prop bets, but right now, like, it's pretty even. Like, Kansas City is technically the betting underdog as of this moment. But I don't really see it that way. I think it's sort of a pick'em where it can go either way. Philly has a really good defense. Their defensive line was superb. I mean, they had the most sacks by far in the NFL's regular season. Kansas City's up there too. I mean, they got Chris Jones, who's, one of the bigger beasts on the defensive line for Kansas City. Both got good quarterbacks. Both have a ton of weapons offensively. These teams stack up really well against each other. I think Philadelphia's maybe the bit more well-rounded team, but I think Kansas City still has a little bit more flair. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, those guys can get it done no matter who they are matched up against. So it's going to be fun to see these two teams go together. I think it's going to be close. I do think Kansas City is going to win. I think maybe only by a couple of points. It could be a one-score game. It could be a one-point game. I'm just hoping for a close matchup here. Yeah,
this is where I'll be the outlier in this. I believe the final score is going to be 27-10. Philadelphia, to me, they have looked the part this year. They have looked the complete team. They could have easily been an undefeated team. They ran into some trouble in a couple of their games this year. I just think, to me, they seem to be able to throw everything at you, and no matter whether Patrick Mahomes isn't healthy or not, I just don't know that he's going to be able to give it his all. He's going to try. There's no doubt about that. He's going to hobble on and off sidelines all night long. I just think that Jalen Hurts and that offense, and then you double that with the defense being as good as they are going to come at Patrick Mahomes because, again, as Jeff pointed out, they led the league in sacks. They're going to blitz you all night long, and they're just going to, every time Patrick Mahomes goes to throw the ball, he's going to have to move out of the pocket, and in order to move out of the pocket, you're going to have to test that ankle. And again, I go back to, can you test it? Because you got a high ankle sprain. Everything I've heard and read, and there's no way he should be able to play this game, but he is because he's a competitor, and I respect that. I just think that Philadelphia is going to throw everything at them, and it's going to be too much to handle, in my opinion. And Josh Watson is coming to my house, and I hope I'm wrong in that it's a 27-10 game, but I think that's what we're in for, Josh. I really do.
Well, the thing that I think we haven't really talked about so far is Nick Sirianni versus the legend in Andy Reid. I mean, I think Andy's been coaching as long as Nick's been alive, or pretty close to it. So you can say what you want about, best defense and these things, but you've given Andy Reid 2 weeks to prepare for one team. So that's something I think we have to take into consideration too. I agree that it's going to be interesting to see what Mahomes can do on essentially one leg. They said in the AFC Championship game that it's a 6-week injury that he's come back from in basically 2. And so he's not 100%, as you pointed out, Brock. But he's kind of like a Brady in that I just can't bet against him.
Yeah.
I really can't.
Yeah.
That's like, I mean, going against Brady, I've lost my fair share of money betting against Brady. I just stopped doing it. Same thing with Patrick Mahomes. Great point there too, as well, with Andy Reid going against his former team. I'm sure he would like to have a couple cheeseburgers after the game in celebratory fashion if he can beat his former team. And Patrick Mahomes, I mean, this guy has, I think, every trick in the bag. He's on 1 foot, no feet. I'll take him as my quarterback. He's thrown the ball with his left
even
hand.
No feet, Jeff. Even no feet.
Even no feet. He was still proving that he was kind-ish mobile enough to make a couple of scramble plays here and there. In that last game, he's apparently been doing rehab for like 5 or 6 hours every day leading up to the Super Bowl. I'm sure his ankle's going to be heavily taped. It might even be frozen. But again, he's the type of guy who just has every trick in the bag. Left-handed throws, underhand throws. He's just so creative with his mind. And like you guys have said, it's really, really hard to bet against him. So I just can't do it. He's too good.
I'm gonna also say, and then we're gonna get into the crazy bets that are. I'm gonna also say I think Philadelphia also is looking over at the other sideline and saying, you went over there, we're over here, and still a good organization. So I do think there's something to prove over there too. And like you said, Philadelphia's coach is, way, way younger than Andy Reid, and it's not even a contest for experience. But hey, sometimes the young guy can really pull it out. But we'll see how it goes, and I'm looking forward to kickoff at 6:30. One of my favorite things to look at every year, and I do this on various platforms the week before the Super Bowl, and we start talking about prop betting, and I want to do that here. One of the ones that I love the most, that I just think is ridiculous, is the one about the anthem. And I'm not exactly sure who's singing the anthem. I haven't been able to find it. One of you guys might know, but I want to know, do you think the anthem will be sung in over 2 minutes or under 2 minutes? Josh, start with you.
I'm going to go with the over. The people that they tend to have for anthem singers tend to love to show off and embellish, and I have a feeling it's going to be over this year.
I am also going to go with the over. Usually whoever sings the anthem, like Josh says, likes to put their own little flair on certain things. And I just feel like a lot of them like to have that spotlight on them for maybe just a little bit longer. They might start to drag out their words just a little bit. I'll take the over on that.
I'm going to go with the under. I did some crack research, a.k.a. Kelly McDonald, telling me earlier on Kelly and Rumia that the last few anthems have been under in the last couple of Super Bowls. So I'm going to go on the side of under. I think we're going to continue with the under trend for the third year in a row. All right.
Before you jump into that, quick little search that I've found. It's one of my favorite, and possibly yours as well, Brock. Chris Stapleton is supposed to be the anthem singer this year.
Oh, well,
according to what I've
then
seen.
I definitely going with the under. I don't think Chris Stapleton is one to hold these long high notes. To which, to hold it. Does anybody change their bets knowing who it is now?
I mean, maybe he's a country star. Maybe he comes out and does a little riff on his guitar before or after. I'm still taking the over, Brock.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do the coin toss. Heads or tails on the coin toss? Jeff.
I'm going to go with heads. Don't really know. Don't really have a reason why. I guess it's technically 50-50. And usually whenever I do a coin toss, I take heads. So I'm just going to go with heads.
Josh?
Yeah, I think I'll be the contrarian this time and say tails. I don't bet on props because most of the time it is a coin flip, and in this case I don't think there's any evidence to weigh one side more than the other, so I'll go tails. I'm
gonna go tails with this as well. Who wins the coin toss, and thus do they win the game? Josh, start with you.
Ooh, well, based on what I said earlier, I think I have to go with Kansas City because I definitely think they're going to win. So why not win the coin toss as well. Just win everything you can.
The coin toss is a little bit more strategic than I think maybe the casual fan thinks. Being a Buffalo Bills fan, whenever they won the coin toss, they defer to the second half. So there is definitely a bit of strategy behind that. So if Kansas City wins the coin toss, I think they defer. I think they win the game.
I think Kansas City defers and they win the game as well. First play of the game will be what after the... Oh, no, let's do this one first. Will the kickoff be run back for a touchdown? Yes or no? Josh?
I'm going to go with no. The odds of it actually happening are fairly slim, in my opinion. It's really electric and exciting when it happens, as we saw in the Bills game a few weeks ago. But I just think it's too hard to actually pull off, so I'm going to say no.
I might sprinkle a little bit of money on this because the odds, if it does happen, I would probably be pretty rich. I don't know. I don't know how often it has happened. I think Devin Hester may have returned a touchdown on the opening kickoff about 15-ish years ago. I would love to see it. Do I think it's going to happen? No, but am I going to bet it? I might put $1 or $2 on it just to see what happens.
Fair enough. I'm going with no. I don't think it happens. I think it is too challenging to do so. I want to get through a couple more here. We've only got a couple minutes. Does any of the field goal try hit the bar? Yes or no? And I'm talking about the bottom bar on the crossbar. Thank you. I could not get that word out of my head.
I'm a goalie. I have to know it.
Fair enough. Josh, does it hit the crossbar? Yes or no?
I'm going to say no.
I'm also going to say no. I mean, the kickers that are in this are pretty darn good. I don't think they're going to hit the crossbar at all. Either it's going to go straight in or it's going to be a miss. Does it hit the goalpost, crossbar, whatever you want to call it? I don't think so.
And the Dallas Cowboys are not in the Super Bowl, so there's nothing to worry about there at all. Just throwing that out there.
There's it.
Okay. I had to throw it in there. Okay, so another one of the ridiculous bets, but something we always do at the end of the game. What color of Gatorade does the winning coach get poured on them? The order I'm going to give you is the order it is favored to be: orange, yellow, green, red, pink, clear, water, purple, none. Josh, what say you?
I will go with the yellow green. I think lemon lime is probably pretty popular, so let's go with that one. I know it's my favorite flavor, so.
I don't know if it's on the board there, Brock, but blue is really good. I'm not sure why it wouldn't be blue. It's definitely the best flavor, although I'm colorblind, so maybe I'm just not seeing these colors correctly. And it's always one of those I have a question for. I have to ask my wife, or a buddy, was that yellow? Is that orange? What color was the Gatorade? I can't really tell, but if I was drinking the Gatorade, what I'd want it to be is blue.
I missed blue, and blue is about the fourth in line on it's before the red and the pink. So yes, there's blue, and that is the choice I would go with. Let's squeeze in one more before Mark tells me I have to wrap. Does the first play of the game consist of a run, a pass, a fumble? What? Josh?
I am going to go with a pass, given the two quarterbacks that we're dealing with. I think it's one of those things you want to get the first pass out of the way, get the first completion, and then everybody can take a deep breath. So I'm going to say pass.
I will play contrarian here, Brock. I will say run. It's just one of those easy things to do. You hand off the ball. If you get a yard, good. If you get a touchdown, that's exceptional. I think it's one of the safer bets. You want to get off on the right foot there. So I think it's going to be a run.
I think it is also going to be a run. We'll see how it goes. But the Super Bowl is Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And we'll come back next week with all of the highlights, lowlights, and everything in between. Thank you, Jeff, for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Enjoy the Super Bowl, guys. Thanks for having me.
That was senior producer Jeff Ryman from Kelly and Rumya. That is the end of our show for this week. I would like to thank Josh Watson, Jeff Ryman. Our technical producer is Mark Aflalo. Podcast coordinator is Ryan Delahanty. Tune in next week because you just never know what happens when you enter the neutral zone. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you again soon.